Chapter 1. Prologue. Bobby Flay stood secluded just off to the side, his gaze fixed on a flickering monitor that displayed the vivid spectacle of his kitchen battleground. The air was laced with smoke from his casually held cigarette, and the muted clink of ice against his Scotch glass punctuated the atmosphere. As the smells and sounds of culinary warfare wafted from the main stage, he took a slow, pensive drag, the ember glowing in a brief defiance of the studio's artificial illumination. The camera swept through the energetic panorama without him, capturing the chefs in their high-octane dance with flavor and fire. And despite his physical detachment, his presence, that unmistakable Flay charisma, bled through the screen nonetheless. "I'm Bobby Flay," his recorded voice ensured, his filmed counterpart teeming with confidence. Meanwhile, the real Bobby exhaled a trail of smoke, his expression unreadable, a stark contrast to the animated figure that held court over his kitchen. From the corner of his eye, he watched the young contender's playful taunt about coming for his job unfold on the monitor. A wry chuckle escaped his lips, dissipating as swiftly as the smoke into the studio's rafters. He knew the game, the showmanship required, but in these quiet moments, he pondered the endless cycle of challenges he faced, week after week, wondering what it truly meant to be Bobby Flay, the man behind the culinary legend. The audience's gasps and murmurs reached him muffled, a faint echo beside the quiet sip of scotch and the soft ash tap. The allure of competition, the heat of the spotlight. It was all there, but distanced, as if he watched someone else's life play out on a screen. "This culinary battle is going to shake down in 2 rounds, he heard himself proclaim. Yet the weight of the words hung heavier in his solitary corner. He couldn't help but observe the earnest intensity of the competing chefs, acknowledging the fierce dedication that mirrored his own. "Flavor, come on," chorused from the kitchen, a rallying cry he had led so many times before. The judges, those culinary connoisseurs, they sought the essence of his cooking style. They knew it almost as well as he did. But as they marveled at his techniques from their study, here he stood, contemplative, unsure if the marvels still belonged to him. Bobby Flay, the once unflagging competitor, took a moment longer, letting the scotch warm his thoughts. It was his picture they toasted to, his kitchen they reveled in, but the physical walls surrounding him felt a world apart. "Bottom line, everyone's out to beat me. Bring it on," the on-screen Bobby dared with bravado. He watched, lips curling into a half-smile, knowing full well the show must go on, even if the hero sometimes privately questioned his own script. As the scene prepared to shift from his contemplative solitude back to the fiery competition, Bobby snuffed out his cigarette, his resolve reigniting. The scotch settled back on the table untouched as he prepared to rejoin the fray, the living embodiment of the force of culinary nature known as Bobby Flay. Chapter 2. Bobby Flay strides to the center of the culinary arena, a bitter taste clinging to his tongue. The glinting cooktops and gleaming knives at the 2 stations stir up a concoction of disgust within him. It's an emotion as sharp and tangy as a bite of pickled ginger, as if the entire spectacle of the competition is an unwanted morsel he must swallow. Yet he casts off this distaste with a flicker of a smirk, the showman within him springing to life like a phoenix from the ashes. "I'm Bobby Flay," he bellows, the words ricocheting off the kitchen walls, stirring up an eager buzz in the crowd. "Who here wants to see me win tonight?" The audience erupts into cheers, their support washing over him like a tidal wave. It's an ironic twist that this show, built on the premise of his defeat, seems to bring out the most vociferous support for him. "Today I've got two friends who want nothing more than to see me get beat," Bobby declares, casting a glance at his prompter. His interest wanes as he reads the names of his acquaintances: Giada de Laurentiis and Scott Conent. The audience's roar punctuates his words like an exclamation mark. Bobby grins through gritted teeth at their misplaced enthusiasm for these two culinary charlatans. Giada strides in first, her large fake teeth flashing brighter than her fame. "You know, Bobby," she starts, flashing an imperious smile, "my new cookbook has been an incredible success. It's even been called essential by some critics. There's no way you're not getting a taste of defeat today." Scott follows suit, looking as overpriced as his suits, their arrogance lingering in the air like pungent truffle oil. "Well, Giada," he begins in a patronizing tone, "the cookbook is actually a fascinating invention, deeply rooted in the fabric of culinary history, going back to Apicius in ancient Rome. It's the embodiment of sharing culinary knowledge across generations." Bobby rolls his eyes subtly, his patience wearing as thin as Carpaccio. "Speaking of history," he interjects smoothly, "let's make some tonight. But first, how about you two introduce the rising stars who think they can take me down?" Giada and Scott glance towards each other, the competitive fire igniting in their eyes as they ready themselves to champion their chosen contestants. Bobby leans back, ready to judge the mettle of those brave enough to enter Bobby's kitchen. Chapter 3. Bobby watches as Giada de Laurentiis squints at the teleprompter, her eyes betraying her indifference. "Ladies and gentlemen," she begins with a practiced smile, "please welcome Liam O'Sullivan, a spirited bartender from Ireland." Liam bursts onto the stage, his costume a garish mockery of Irish folklore, loose change clattering from his hat as he tosses it into the audience. The crowd is silent, uncomprehending as he erupts into raucous laughter. His words are slurred and peppered with brogue, incomprehensible to all but perhaps the most inebriated of souls. With each step he takes towards his cooking station, his antics grow more absurd, culminating in a brazen wink to Giada and an obscene middle finger raised towards at Bobby. Bobby's eyebrow arches, unspoken words etched in his expression. He doesn't flinch. Instead, amusement flickers across his face like shadows cast by firelight. Scott Conent clears his throat, a hint of discomfort creasing his otherwise immaculate facade. "And here we have the Taco Queen of Chicago," he stammers before catching himself. "I mean Chef Maya Rodriguez." Maya strides out with an air of confidence that is quickly eclipsed by her realization, the bikini she dons starkly out of place in this culinary arena. A moment's hesitation, then she seizes an apron and covers herself with hurried grace. Not missing a beat, she snatches a bottle of tequila from the shelf and strides to her station, where she tilts back her head and drinks deeply. The room is suspended in a momentary silence, a tableau vivant that captures the chaos perfectly. Giada and Scott exchange glances laden with disbelief and bewilderment. Then there's Bobby. His gaze lingers on Maya. Her boldness intrigues him like a challenge yet to be met. She's not just any chef. She's a maelstrom in human form, capable of turning Bobby's kitchen upside down. Bobby thinks of matrimony but quickly banishes the thought. In this circus of contenders vying for culinary conquest, Bobby stands apart, a maestro ready to face whatever these wild cards throw at him. He takes another sip of scotch off camera. Its warmth spreads through him like the anticipation of battle. Chapter 4. A hush falls over the audience, their anticipation palpable as Bobby steps forward. His expression melds surprise with a tinge of amusement as he takes in the sight of his challengers. He clears his throat, drawing attention. "So, do you know why you are here?" Bobby asks, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Words tumble out in a chaotic symphony as Liam and Maya speak over each other, a cacophony of clashing accents and half-formed sentences. The crowd leans in, hanging on the discordant duet. Liam's voice crescendos above Maya's. "To kick your stupid American TV chef ass up and down Kitchen Stadium." His words echo through the room like a gunshot. A collective gasp escapes the audience. They recoil as if struck. A stunned silence blankets the space, a stark contrast to Liam's outburst. Maya, tequila bottle in hand, turns her fiery gaze on Liam. "Kitchen Stadium is in Japan, you pendejo," she slurs before tilting the bottle back for another generous gulp. Liam channels Conor McGregor striking a pose and bellowing in an exaggerated Irish brogue. "Get me ma belt." He points theatrically at Maya's posterior as though envisioning it beneath his palm. Bobby's eyes widen, huge saucers reflecting the madness unfolding before him. He wonders silently if these two can even wield a knife properly, let alone cook. But deep down, it doesn't matter to him. The YouTube revenue alone will make this all worthwhile. Under his breath, Bobby mutters about getting through each other before getting to him. The words are lost on the wind. Liam and Maya are ensnared in their own drama. With a dramatic flair, Bobby points at a pineapple resting innocently on the counter, then rings the bell with finality. The sound reverberates, pulling Liam and Maya from their quarrel. They blink at the pineapple as realization dawns they have a task at hand. Chapter 5. Bobby's gaze is fixed in disbelief as he watches Liam haphazardly jam the pineapple into the microwave, aggressively punching in a 20-minute timer. The clamor of the kitchen fades into an eerie quiet, punctuated only by the steady hum of the appliance. Even the typically composed Giada and Scott are taken aback, their exchanged looks betraying their confusion. "Isn't that the entire time allotted for this round?" Scott whispers to Giada. The camera cuts away to a confessional with Liam, who looks directly at the camera and says, "Look, a man's got to do what a man's got to do in the kitchen, you know. But Giada, oh, she's a sight. Like a fine Irish whiskey, smooth and fiery. She can heat up my kitchen any day." The scene cuts back to the kitchen. Maya, on the other side of the kitchen, is fully immersed in rummaging through her designer bag. With an air of flamboyance, she pulls out whimsical Mr. Potato Head accessories, proceeding to deck the pineapple out in eclectic fashion. Bobby's lips curve into an amused smirk, shaking his head at the spectacle. The camera cuts away again to a confessional with Maya, whose speech is slightly slurred as she glances at the camera and says, "Mr. Potato Head, I'll tell you, is not just a toy, it's a cultural icon. Growing up, it was like... He was part of the family, always on the dinner table. It's like he gets me, you know? It's all about bringing fun to the food." The scene cuts back to the kitchen. The panel of judges descends upon Maya, their inquisitive nature on full display as they bombard her with questions about her unusual strategy. Maya's patience wears thin, her speech slurred and her tone biting as she takes another generous gulp of tequila. "Enough with the interrogation," Maya exclaims. Liam, meanwhile, is set on elevating his concoction. He scours the pantry and returns triumphant with luxurious A5 Wagyu and fragrant truffles. In his frenetic search, delicate truffles scatter on the floor, skittering in every direction as if alive. Undeterred, he casually hurls the prized ingredients into the microwave, nonchalantly adjusting the timer as if it's all part of his grand plan. Giada inches toward Liam's station, her interest piqued by his bizarre culinary approach. Liam, that's certainly a unique way to use a microwave, Giada says. A wry smile plays on Liam's lips as he turns on the charm, his Irish accent thicker than ever. How about we talk taste over a dinner date? The camera cuts away to another confessional with Liam, who glances at the camera and says, "Well, I thought if you can't dazzle 'em with brilliance, baffle 'em with charm, and Giada, now she's quite the dish. Just hoping she likes her meat well done and Irish." The scene returns to the kitchen. But his flirtation is short-lived as Liam quickly segues into a pitch for Amway products, his enthusiasm unyielding. Just imagine the difference these can make in your life. Liam shifts his focus to Maya just in time to see the violent crash of tequila bottle against countertop. Maya wields the broken bottleneck menacingly at Giada, her eyes ablaze. It's all about the passion for cuisine. Giada hastily withdraws to the safety of Scott's side, her heart racing. Together they delve into a detailed discourse on the day's events. Scott, ever the culinary historian, seizes the opportunity to enlighten her about the pineapple's rise from exotic delicacy to supermarket staple. The camera cuts away one last time to a shot of Bobby, who just stands there staring blankly at the camera. 6. Bobby, wide-eyed, waves his hand in a motion that can only be described as a cross between a stop sign and a desperate plea for order. "Scott, I think it's your turn to engage with our chefs." Scott saunters over to Maya, dodging an airborne bottle cap. "Maya, the pineapple." Maya's hand flashes like lightning, clutching the neck of the tequila bottle. The jagged edge glistens under the studio lights. "Scott," she growls, her voice a low rumble of thunder, "cerveza, ahora." With a grace that belies his earlier antics, Scott procures a beer and tosses it to Maya. She snatches it from the air, pops the top off with her teeth, and tilts her head back. Liquid gold disappears down her throat. The camera cuts to Maya slurring, "Scott's not bad for a gringo." Back in the kitchen, Scott approaches Liam, who's now brandishing a bottle of whiskey like a scepter. "Amway knives are where it's at," he declares to anyone within earshot. Maya, now done with her beer, hurls the empty bottle in Liam's direction. He pivots on his heel with dancer-like agility, avoiding the makeshift missile. Without missing a beat, he reaches into the pantry and retrieves a bag of potatoes. Liam crams the potatoes into the microwave beside an already spinning pineapple and cuts of luxury beef and truffles. The machine hums ominously as he slams the door shut. "Did I ever tell you about how I once got a potato stuck inside me?" Liam winks at Giada before launching into an impassioned tale of survival, starch, and body horror. Scott clears his throat. "Actually, Liam, about the potato famine." But Liam is on a roll now, extolling the virtues of Amway's latest microwave technology. The microwave's last tremors cease, coinciding with the moment Scott's expression twists into one of dawning awareness. An explosive sound, guttural and deep, punctuates the air of Bobby's kitchen, heralding the shower of singed fragments that turn Scott's attire into a Jackson Pollock masterpiece, splattered with the essence of the volatile concoction. Chapter 7. Bobby Flay stands a safe distance from the culinary carnage, an eyebrow raised as Liam O'Sullivan showers Giada de Laurentiis with praise, each compliment more extravagant than the last, as if her teeth were the gates to culinary heaven. Bobby watches the aftermath of the explosion, a repulsive mixture of pineapple, gnawed beef, and soggy truffles, splattered across the plates like a Jackson Pollock disaster. "Holy shit! It looks like I made it! Get your judging shoes ready, Giada. This dish is going to change your life," Liam bellows, hands on hips like a superhero, oblivious to his own absurdity. Bobby can't help but marvel at Maya Rodriguez's success in getting her Mr. Potato Head pineapple onto a plate amidst her tequila-fueled haze. Giada responds with a wide smile, perhaps too wide. "Scott and I think both of you would mop the floor with Bobby," she says, as if the very idea isn't an absurdity. "But today's winner will be the one who made pineapple the star." Bobby's lips quirk into a smirk as he watches Scott Conent look at Liam. "What do you call this creation?" Scott asks with the patience of a saint. Liam stands tall, a grin stretching across his face. "Suck it, Flay, soufflé." Giada takes a tentative bite of Liam's dish. The pineapple shines, she admits, through gritted teeth, as if admitting defeat. But where is the depth of flavor? It needs seasoning. Scott nods in agreement, tasting carefully. "The pineapple is indeed the protagonist here," he concurs. "Yet I crave more texture." Turning to Maya with a curious tilt of his head, Scott asks for her dish's name. Maya sways slightly, slurring her words in an intoxicating rhythm. "White folks don't get Mr. Potato Head," she declares before blurting out with misplaced pride, "Mr. Pineapple Head." Scott attempts to navigate the dish with his fork as Giada stabs at it vigorously. "It's a little under," Scott concludes with an apologetic grimace. Giada shakes her head, fork still in hand. "I would have liked a salad alongside this," she adds diplomatically. They huddle close behind a napkin barrier for a secretive discussion before Scott turns to face the contestants. "Liam is our winner," he announces just as security steps in to escort Maya away, her hand clutching a jagged tequila bottle shard with unfulfilled promise. Bobby watches from afar, an almost imperceptible nod acknowledging the madness that just unfolded in his kitchen, a spectacle he wouldn't miss for all the Wagyu beef in Japan.